Before we dive into the dark realities of white phosphorus in World War II, make sure to subscribe to Strange History. By hitting that button, you'll get a front row seat to untold stories, battlefield secrets, and shocking historical truths that, well, rarely make the textbooks. Share this video with friends and fellow history enthusiasts who are ready to uncover the brutal, little-known sides of warfare. Trust us, what you're about to learn will change the way you think about World War II forever. White phosphorus was one of the most feared weapons on the battlefields of the 20th century. Unlike conventional explosives, which relied on force and shrapnel to kill, white phosphorus brought terror through its sheer, unrelenting destruction of flesh, oxygen, and hope. Soldiers who encountered it didn't just face a threat of death, they faced a weapon that burned with a ferocity unmatched by fire alone, consuming everything in its path while producing blinding smoke that obscured the battlefield and disoriented the enemy. Its use in World War II wasn't merely tactical, it was psychological warfare. Armies deployed white phosphorus shells to clear bunkers, destroy fortifications, and create smoke screens, but its presence carried an unmistakable message. Death could come invisibly, unpredictably, and in the most painful ways imaginable. Unlike high explosives, white phosphorus adhered to skin, clothing, and equipment, continuing to burn until it was completely deprived of oxygen. This meant that soldiers could be engulfed in flames even after the initial detonation, and extinguishing the substance was a perilous task. One of the most horrifying aspects was the medical reality. Burns from white phosphorus were deep, persistent, and often fatal. They produced chemical reactions that ignited living tissue and caused extensive secondary injuries. Doctors who treated these burns found that conventional methods, water, blankets, or even heavy ointments, were often insufficient. In some cases, amputations were necessary simply to save a soldier's life. The psychological trauma, too, was immense. Soldiers witnessing these injuries or seeing comrades suffer were deeply affected, carrying memories of the weapon's destructive power long after the war ended. White phosphorus was also uniquely suited for tactical deception. When ignited, it produced this dense smoke that could blanket movements, mask retreats, or, really disorient defenders. Armies used it strategically, creating illusions of troop movements or covering artillery operations. While this might sound like a tactical advantage, it came at a steep moral cost. Civilians trapped in cities and towns were exposed to these chemicals as well. Reports from urban battles in Europe and Asia indicate that white phosphorus caused indiscriminate harm, spreading fires through residential areas and leaving civilians with horrific injuries similar to those of soldiers. Despite the severe consequences, white phosphorus was often considered a necessary evil. Military planners argued that its ability to dislodge entrenched enemies and protect advancing troops justified its use. Yet first-hand accounts from soldiers on both sides reveal an intense fear and revulsion toward it. Many described its appearance as a living flame, a substance that didn't obey the usual rules of fire and destruction. Unlike conventional weapons, which could be approached with caution or tactical mitigation, white phosphorus demanded absolute avoidance or immediate, desperate action. The ethical questions surrounding its use during the Second World War are still debated today. Was it a legitimate battlefield tool, or did it cross a line into inhumane warfare? Historical documents reveal that commanders often justified its deployment on the grounds of expediency and effectiveness. Yet personal diaries and post-war interviews reflect deep moral unease. Soldiers who witnessed the suffering inflicted by white phosphorus often grappled with the tension between military necessity and human cost, a tension that, still resonates in discussions of modern warfare and chemical weaponry. In addition to its physical and psychological effects, white phosphorus had strategic implications. It was, an equalizer in some battles, capable of breaking stalemates and forcing defenders out of well-fortified positions. Commanders learned to combine it with conventional artillery, aerial bombardments, and infantry advances to maximize battlefield effectiveness. However, its indiscriminate nature meant that even a well-planned strike could produce catastrophic collateral damage. Civilian casualties and destruction of infrastructure often sparked outrage and contributed to post-war debates over the rules of engagement. Modern science has confirmed what World War II soldiers experienced firsthand. White phosphorus reacts violently with oxygen, creating heat that can reach thousands of degrees Fahrenheit. The material burns until it is entirely consumed or deprived of air, making it almost impossible to extinguish quickly. This chemical reaction explains why exposure was so lethal and why it produced injuries unlike those caused by conventional fires. For historians and survivalists alike, understanding the science behind this weapon sheds light on why it inspired both fear and tactical reliance during the war. Even decades later, white phosphorus continues to influence military strategy and ethics. Its legacy informs international conventions on chemical weapons and raises questions about acceptable conduct in warfare. Studying its use in World War II provides insight not only into the tactics and technology of the era, but also into the human cost of chemical incendiaries on the battlefield. The stories of soldiers and civilians who encountered white phosphorus remind us that history is not just a series of battles. It is a record of human endurance, suffering, and ingenuity in the face of terrifying tools of war. White phosphorus in World War II stands out not just for its destructive capacity, but for the psychological terror it inflicted, the strategic versatility it offered, and the enduring moral questions it raises. Its presence on the battlefield transformed not only tactics, but the experience of war itself. Understanding its use is crucial for anyone seeking a complete, unvarnished view of World War II, from the soldiers' trenches to the cities caught in the crossfire. If you want more shocking and little-known wartime truths, make sure to subscribe to Strange History, hit the notification bell, and share this episode with fellow history enthusiasts. Exploring weapons like white phosphorus isn't just about tactics. It's about understanding the human experience in the most extreme circumstances. By studying these stories, we honor the lessons of history and learn to appreciate both the horrors of war and the resilience of those who survived it.